So let's move on to the next one, which is installing using a virtual machine. A virtual machine is an app on your computer, on your desktop computer, that allows you run several other kinds of operating system, be it Mac OS, be it another Windows. You could even run a Windows 7 or a Windows XP on this virtual machine. And aside from that, it could also help you run Linux distributions. So there are two major things we'll be needing. Yeah, we'll be needing a virtual machine and we'll be needing an ISO file. A virtual machine and an ISO file. And I'm going to be putting you through on how you can get these two things. So I'll move on to my browser, my Chrome browser, and I would visit, first of all, let's start with our virtual machine. So I'll visit this website, virtualbox.org, and I would wait for it to open. So I would go to the download section of the virtualbox.org. Now, this VirtualBox is produced by Oracle. It's a software developed by Oracle. And I would, okay, yeah, Windows host. That means, what this means is that means you can run a virtual machine on any kind of operating system. I could run a virtual machine on a Mac OS and then run a Windows on a Mac OS. Do you understand? And that would mean I'm going to be using the Mac OS. So that means the computer and the operating system that is serving as the host is a Macintosh, or the operating system that is serving as a host in my case here is Windows. That's my base operating system. So I'll be downloading this. You click on this, and it's going to set up the download. But I downloaded this already um, before the before recording the video, so I don't have to download it anymore. So you can download it. So once it's done downloading, you can then visit this next website, releases.ubuntu.com. Here we are going to be getting our ISO file. Now, the ISO file is basically a file that contains all of the details, all of the kernel, the structure, the distribution of the Linux operating system. So we are going to remember it comes in various versions. This 24.04, but remember what we installed before, 22.04.5 LTS Jammy Jellyfish. Yes, this is what I am going for. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to scroll. Now you will see several files on it, but the file I need is the ISO file. This one, this desktop AMD 64 for the desktop image for 64 bits, and it's about 4.4 gigabytes. So you click on this, it has several others, but what we need is the ISO file. As I said, the ISO file is what is important because this is what is going to be loaded into our virtual machine. So I click on this to download. It's about 4.4 gig. Uh, I downloaded it already also, so I do not have to download it anymore. So once these two things are downloaded on your computer, you are good to go. I would minimize this now, and I would go to my downloads. I have the two running already, the two downloaded, and I'm going to install the VirtualBox. I would install the VirtualBox. Okay, it's taking a while. It's taking a while. Okay, it's open. I click on next. I read all of this. I do. Then I just accept. Next. So you just go through the step of installing this. Yes, it creates the folder in my program files in my local disk. I say next. I say yes, and yes, shortcuts on the desktop. I do not want to. Okay, I want to register file associations, but I don't want to create a shortcut. Yes. So next. So I install, and I wait for the installation to complete, and then we can begin to get our Linux distribution loaded into the virtual machine. This shouldn't take any time. It doesn't take much time to install this particular package. Just exercise patience. Now, one thing about the virtual box is that you have to allocate a specific amount of RAM and a specific amount of ROM also to your to the virtual machine. And this what this leads to is that when you are running your virtual machine and simultaneously using your Windows, you would except you have a very strong PC, you would experience lags in the processes. Your Windows is going to be slow. Even the virtual machine would also be slow. So yes, it's okay, good. So it's installed, and yes, I want to start VirtualBox after installation. Let's just open it up now. So it's going to open it up. I can close this now and wait for the VirtualBox to open. All right, this is the VirtualBox. You are in. So let us go straight to getting our Linux distribution installed on this VirtualBox. So I'll be clicking on new, not add, but new. I'll click on new, and it says here to create a virtual machine, and I'm going to name this virtual machine. Let me just call it the Linux distro. I'll call it Linux distro. And the ISO image, remember the ISO image we downloaded from releases.ubuntu.com, the one of 4.4 gigabytes? Yes, that is what is going to be passed into this place. So I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to click on others. It's going to open up my file manager. It was saved in my downloads in desktop. And here is it. It's the only ISO image that is available here. So it's the only thing that is going to be visible in this. So I double click on it. And yes, that's all I need. Then I click on next, and yes, it gives me a username. Remember the username I created then when we used the WSL method where I wrote FUNBI. Yes, that's the same username that you're going to put in here, FUNBI. And also the password we created. So I'll create. Remember, this is not the Linux itself. This is just a virtual machine. So you could see the dots, but in a real Linux machine, you would not see anything. So I would also retype it here. All right. So I've done that, so it's given my host name here, the domain name, and I'll click on next again. Okay, yes, and here is where the allocation now comes in. You can see I have about 8 gigabytes of RAM. I have about 8 gigabytes of RAM, and about 2 gigabytes is given already. I think that's the minimum. If I'm to give anything lesser, it's not going to take it. No, it's not going to take it. So I have to give it about 2 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, all right. Then the number of processors to use, one CPU. For my computer has up to 4 CPUs, 4 processors. So I could give it two, but I think I'll just stick with one since I'm not going to be using this this system that much. And now that's what I was trying to tell you, that when you're now running this virtual machine and your Windows simultaneously, it tends to lag, it tends to eat up and all and things like that. So I click on next after allocating. Then the hard disk, the ROM, you have about the maximum you could give is 2 terabytes. So 25 gig is allocated. You could reduce this. Let me just see. Remember, if you give the amount you give to this virtual machine is the amount it's going to use. So there may be some calculations you may not be able to do because you don't have enough space. Do you understand that? But in my case where I'm using the WSL, I don't need to worry about that. I have because it's on my Windows. It's using directly from. It's not a shared resource system, but yeah, we are sharing our resources amongst the two between the two systems. So I could give it. Let's just say I'm not using it, so let's just give it 5 gig. I'll be giving it 5 gigabytes. Okay. No. All right. So next. Okay, yeah. So it's giving me the summary of everything I have imputed. So I'll just say finish. And it's going to start installing it. If you think this is a good option for you, please do go for it because it's going to give you the Linux vibe. It's going to give you the Linux desktop environment. You will see the difference between this method and the WSL. The WSL still keeps me in my Windows environment, but just gives me access to the Linux terminal. But this method will give you access to both the Linux terminal and the Linux environment, the Ubuntu Linux environment. So you can see it's saying powering up the virtual machine. So we'll just wait for it to get to 100%. So you could look here to see your, okay, it's covering that already. So it's powering up already. Okay, okay, I don't want this. All right, so yeah, try Ubuntu. All right, so you don't need to do anything from here on. Just let it do its thing. Let it install. So it's doing that. You can see the mode it's displaying in a fractional mode. If you want to make this, okay, it's adjusted already. You could have just gone to view and you could have just set full screen mode. You could have done the full screen mode. So it's setting up. So you can see already it's giving you the Ubuntu logo. We didn't see all of this when we were using the WSL, but yeah, we are going to have the full Linux experience. So if you want to have the full user experience of the Linux environment, you can go with this method. But if you are just after the terminal, you just want to do your work and move on, then you can stick with the WSL method. So we're going to wait for this. So this is pretty much everything we need to do. So I'll just wait for this to boot finish. I would wait for the system to boot finish. And now our Ubuntu is successfully installed on our virtual machine. This took about an hour to actually install, so you would really need to be patient to see this through. Also, I would want to suggest that you try to increase the hard disk space that you're giving to the virtual machine. Try to increase it to about 10 gigabytes. All right. So for this system now, you can see I'm having like a lock screen. Yeah, so it brings up my lock screen. Remember the name I gave it when I was installing the Ubuntu FUNBI from the, and it's also asking me for the password which I created. And now this is how the Ubuntu distribution looks like basically. Now you are no longer on Windows. You now have access to Linux environment. So I'll put in my password and I wait for it to open, and voila. Can you see? This is Ubuntu. Can you see? It's nothing like Microsoft Windows. It's nothing like it at all. Okay, it brings up. It will bring this up on your first login. So you just click on skip. Yes, skip for now. Can you say skip for now? Just skip everything. Next. Um, okay, no. Next. Okay, location services. Well, this depends if you want. Well, I can always turn this on if I want it anytime. So no. So yes, I'm ready to go. Now done. So this is the Ubuntu distribution. This is the Linux environment. You can check um, the start manager. Okay, you could access your terminal by clicking Control T. Control T brings up your terminal. Okay, it's taking a while to. Now you can see my laptop is already getting slow. So I've requested for the terminal to be open already, but it's still taking this long to respond. Okay, there's something actually that okay, yes, this is not actually set up very well. The resolution. So I'll go to my settings because the dashboard is not complete. I've requested for terminal, but it's not still opening. So let's see. The settings is also loading here. Okay, settings has opened. Okay, so I'll go to my appearance. Can you see how slow it is? So this is one of the drawbacks of of this installation procedure. Okay. Um, oh, sorry. I think it's on displays rather displays. Yeah. So I'm going to change my resolution. I'm going to find the best fit resolution for my screen that would bring out everything I need. This currently is 180 200, 1280 800. I could go for 1280 768. I would apply changes. Okay. Let me see. Keep changes. Okay, I've not still gotten what I need. So let me just see something else. Okay, 1280 720. Okay, so you can see that there's actually a difference because you can see there's this extra button here. This extra button that says shows application. It was not showing because it was extended out of the screen. But I think I can still go lower. I can still go lower. Okay, I think that's all I can do. Okay, I think that's all I can do. So I'm going to close this now. Okay, and I can. This is like your start menu. It shows you all of your applications. Can you see it has all of these applications? These applications are Linux. Can you see instead of having Microsoft Office, it has LibreOffice. Can you see this? It has its own PDF viewer. It has its own everything text editor. It is not using Notepad like Windows. It uses its own special text editor. Okay, so I'll just be clicking on the terminal. Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know why it didn't open with Control T. Maybe because we will need to set it up in the settings of the terminal or something. Okay, yeah. So this is the terminal, just like what you saw on the WSL method. So you see from the at distro, you can say ls to see where you are. This lists out all the directories on your computer or where you are. You could also do pwd to know where you are. So I'm in the Fumbi directory in the home directory. So yes, this is successful. We have successfully installed the Linux distribution on a virtual machine. So with this, you should be able to pick your choice and follow the instruction guidelines for whichever method you want and successfully have your Linux distribution on your Windows. Then we can move on to installing with Quantum Espresso and working a lot with it. Thank you very much for following me through this video, and I wish you success in future simulations.